everyone. I am Kadrana from Logistics Insiders, and I am delighted to warmly welcome you all to today's live session. I am delighted to announce the inaugural edition of Indo-Canadian Digital Supply Chain Tech Conclave, scheduled for the 17th of November 2021. It is a joint initiative by Trade Commissioner Service, Government of Canada, and Logistics Insider. Under this umbrella event, we conducted our first freewheeling discussion on the theme Navigating Modern Supply Chains Through Better Visibility on the 8th of October, which was loved and appreciated by the industry. Taking the cue, we are now delighted to bring to you yet another freewheeling discussion on the theme Robotics and Automation Rewriting the Future of Warehousing. In today's session, a Canadian technology solution provider will share the stage with an Indian logistics service user in order to deliberate and discuss on the modern day supply chain and warehousing challenges and how technology and digital innovation can help address those challenges and issues. The warehousing industry, which is filled with reputable, process oriented, and error prone operations, during the pandemic made a significant leap towards technology to find a solid ground. The industry, an important component of the logistics value chain, brisked up its pace towards robotics and automation to achieve more consistent, accurate, and productive warehouse operations. Now, speaking of technology, Canada has been at the forefront of technology innovation in the supply chain sector and leveraged the emerging technologies to achieve great possibilities. On this very note, I would like to call upon Ms. Rupa, who's Trade Commissioner at Trade Commissioner Service, Government of Canada, to present her remarks on the Indo-Canadian joint venture opportunities in the supply chain sector. Welcome, Ms. Rupa. The stage is all yours.
Thank you, Karvi. Good evening to everyone joining from India, and good morning to all joining from Canada. I'm Rupa, Trade Commissioner at the Consulate General of Canada in Bengaluru. I'm a part of the Trade Commissioner Service, a Government of Canada organization helping Canadian companies navigate international markets like India. In India, the TCS has 8 offices across the country and about 50 officers facilitating cross border trade and investments between Canada and India. Thank you for taking the time to join us today for the session on robotics and automation, rewriting the future of warehousing. Ant colonies, you all would have heard of it. An inspiration for 3D robotics? Not so much. Yes, you heard that right. So, in the session today, you will get an opportunity to learn about a Canadian technology company who's taken inspiration from ant colonies and are rewriting the future of warehousing. Warehousing and distribution have experienced an enormous level of positive and negative impacts due to the COVID pandemic. The increase in e commerce during the pandemic is putting extra pressure on supply chains that are already strained to the max. This requires tasks to be completed in greater quantities and at a faster rate. Warehouse automation has reached new heights during the pandemic, as you all know, and is forcing warehouse operators across industries to accelerate their plans to adopt robotics and automation. Canada is a global leader in the digitization of supply chains and the development of cutting edge AI and robotic technologies. Hence, Canada is well placed to be a reliable technology partner to help digitize Indian supply chain and logistic companies. The future of warehouse robotics is in 3D. Today, we have with us one such Canadian company, Attabotics, a global leader in 3D robotic technology. Mr. Neeraj Gupta, Chief Strategy Officer at Attabotics, will share his insights and experience on how their 3D robotic technology can help transform your warehouses that reduces your warehouse footprint, operational and fulfillment costs, while meeting your customer delivery demands and improving service levels. So I welcome you all to the session today. And over to you, Karvi, for individual speaker introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rupa. It was very encouraging to hear how India and Canada can come together and make great progress in the digital supply chain and warehousing landscapes. So, now moving forward, I would like to introduce today's main guest. Firstly, I would like to call upon Mr. Satendra Pathak, Head Warehousing and Distribution, Adani Logistics Limited. With over 14 years of experience under his wings, Mr. Pathak is passionate about helping businesses achieve goals by leveraging supply chain as the backbone of the organization. He has designed and executed solutions for auto, chemical, FMCG, FMCD, pharma, fashion and lifestyle, e commerce, and retail organizations to launch and manage their fulfillment center operations and set up their logistics to enhance customer satisfaction. Today, Mr. Pathak will be representing the Indian Logistics Service Users side. Welcome to the show, Mr. Pathak. So now, joining Mr. Pathak and representing the Canadian technology providers side of the spectrum is Mr. Neeraj Gupta. He is the Chief Strategy Officer at Attabotics, a Canada-based robotics company specializing in inventory management systems. Mr. Gupta is an expert in global startup ecosystem building, strategy, product management, startup investment, intellectual property consulting, innovation management, deep technology, and technology commercialization. Mr. Gupta has mentored over 100 startups globally and angel invested in a couple of them. He has also authored a book titled Creating and Safeguarding a Strong Intellectual Property Portfolio. Welcome to the show, Mr. Gupta.
Thanks, Kavi.
So now, before I hand the reins of this show to our honorable speakers, I would like to inform our audiences that we will be conducting a Q&A session towards the end of the discussion, and you can feel free to drop your questions on the comment section over here. So now, without any further ado, I would like to give the charge to both our speakers to commence this very special session. The stage is all yours.
Thanks, Kavi. Thanks a lot, Logistics Insider and TCS Services Canada, for inviting us. Since this is going to be a freewheeling session, I and Satendra will try to engage the audience and try to answer as many questions as possible. And Satendra is the pool of knowledge, so I'll also try to figure out how we can get more and more insights from him. Just to give you some information about robotics. So, as Rupa mentioned, we are one of the deep technology robotics startup. It's a cusp of everything what you talk about: AI, machine learning, robotics, IoT, 5G, LTE, like all the buzzwords you're talking about. We actually have implemented, and when we started in 2016, it started with a concept which was ants. And if you start observing ants in the natural system, ants kind of do the storage in the 3D ecosystem, and they have a very efficient way of storing the food and other things. And that's how we started looking at the ants colony. We started observing ants colony, and we owe a lot to the ants. Because of that, we started Attabotics, which is a three-dimensional high-density robotics warehousing and fulfillment automation solution. So essentially, we are into goods to person automation fulfillment, and into something called box automation. And we have several clients in North America, a very strong IP portfolio, more than 350 odd people between Calgary, Canada, and LA, and a couple of other offices we have. We are expanding heavily in India and other places as well. And the important aspect of our solution is that we offer 85% reduction in the space for the warehouse, approximately more than 75% labor reduction, and 50% capex reduction, and that becomes important and interesting. And whereas the concept of warehouse is changing, and that's where probably Satendra, if you can provide your insights about how in India, from the warehouse standpoint, is seeing that transition from a traditional process to all these robotics and automation, and what do you see and what do you see the future?
Yeah. Thanks, Neeraj. Good evening, good morning to all. So, as Karvi said, I'm from this background. I have, I've been into this kind of warehousing, either it is retail, FMCG, FMCD, e-commerce, manufacturing organizations. So bit I have bit knowledge about that, and I've seen that change from, starting from go down kind of warehouses until date. What I would say, I mean, post this pandemic, we were talking about earlier before pandemic how to improve the efficiencies. Improve the kind of SLAs to the customers, but again with the manual processes, manual. Since India is you can say working culture is very manpower centric, so everything, I mean, whatever you are planning in the warehouse, you can consider the key role of manpower. But in today's scenario post this pandemic, it has been accelerated a lot. There are many challenges in the warehouses which we can see. We all realize that those kind of challenges, and we also figuring out the solution around that. Few challenges I would say in terms of supply chain, which I have realized. As I said, this one of the major issue is skilled manpower, or you can say semi-skilled manpower for the operation. If your person is going, if you're opening a warehouse or you are managing a warehouse in an area where this manpower, getting the manpower, skilled manpower is very challenging. In fact, when you'll spend time on the training and development of this manpower, and when some, and you will see the attrition rate and absenteeism of this manpower, that then it becomes very challenging in terms of managing these skilled and semi-skilled manpower. And again, workers, because you can see the culture of this labor intensive culture. So managing social distancing, managing health issues within the warehouse for the manpower is becoming very challenging. Apart from this, this is post pandemic, you can say, workers health issues and social distancing. But again, apart from this, you can, as I said, there are many things which we can realized earlier as well, for this skilled semi skilled manpower. Apart from this, what I have realized, like poor infrastructure of the warehouses. From go down to till date, we have good modern warehouses, but again, the contribution of those go downs or B grade warehouses are, you can say around 60-70% go downs. These are grade C and grade B warehouses. When I'll call grade B and grade C, these are kind of from go downs, till the low height warehouses. And now we are forcing high level, good grade A warehouses, which we call, with good capacity of floor strength, higher vertical height, utilization of vertical height, floor to dock ratios. So these are kind of warehouses we are not having as of now, and that is why the demand for grade A warehouses is again shooting up, kind of year on a year. And as of now, companies, because of this challenge, are considering build to suit warehouses, because the availability is not there in the market. Even in though in grade, in top 8 cities, when you look at, warehouses are being built up in build to suit model only. So these are kind of challenges I have seen, and due to these challenges, what we have missed, that is the technology adoption in terms of automating the processes, using robotics on the floor to manage the risk between working with manpower and and the issues which we realize with the manpower. So we have missed all those things, but post this pandemic, this automation, this technology driven operation is accelerating. So that's my view on this kind of scenario. Neeraj, what do you?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I always say that India always have leapfrogged, and there is always a kind of a drastic change in terms of the technology stack, be it digitization or be it automation, and the kind of e-commerce growth that we have seen in India probably automation and warehouse automation becomes very, very critical for the success of any business for that matter. If like automation, I'm sure that the audience does understand that if you are doing automation, it's not just one solution. You need to understand your need. You need to understand what exactly you want to achieve from automation. You need to understand the KRAs, because automation can improve inventory management, increase warehouse capacity, efficiency, enhance reliability and scalability of the services, improve performances. But we also need to have a gradual transition. It can start with warehouse management system, data collection, inventory control, but it can go to the next stages and can go into robotics and artificial intelligence once you have collated the data. One of the things which I always say is that it's not that companies don't have data. Companies have a lot of data. It's about the data realization and data collation that becomes very critical if you want to utilize it for predictive analytics and for the
Yes.
and 5G, LTE, and all these technologies, and then edge computing is also becoming very significant. And that's where companies like us, companies like Attabotics, become very important for a lot of companies. We have seen this kind of a gradual change and a drastic change in businesses in North America, because we work with very large companies and e-commerce companies and different kind of a retail and fashion and different kind of verticals. One important aspect what you mentioned, and which I have seen in India, especially in the tier 1 and tier 2 cities, are the real estate is becoming more and more expensive.
Yeah.
And one starts looking at the real estate which is outside the city, and when you start looking at small businesses which are trying to do e-commerce, democratization of that last mile delivery and everything, warehouse management becomes very, very tricky. So I'm going to talk about the network supply chain solution which we came out with. But before that, if you can also provide some insights about Adani Group and the venturing into the warehouse, business. Was it already there, or what was the thought process behind it? What kind of opportunity do you see in this space?
Yeah, Neeraj. I'll tell you. As I said, considering technology or kind of, we will talk about more about robotic automation and automation things, since the theme is robotics and automation. So I'll give you the background on this, why we have considered, coming up in this area in big way. As I said, these kind of grade A warehouses in India, it was, kind of there is a gap in supply and demand. Earlier, in earlier scenarios, companies were not looking at automation kind of things, because if you'll exclude this e-commerce part, then we were not realizing the requirement of these kind of technology and automation. Because uh, when technology and automation is required, you can see like where if there is any complexity or there kind of a tight an SL is required, and we want that kind of reliability in the system. So we have to look for alternative options. When these e-commerce came, even though I have worked in e-commerce scenario, so I that time, that point of time, we were realizing we should have a system in place where we can automate the things which are not subjective, the processes in warehouse which are not subjective. We can automate those processes. The challenge, even before this pandemic, in a e-commerce warehouse, I'll give you one example. In a 1 lakh square feet area, we were deploying that point of time somewhere 700-800 people in a fulfillment center. So managing those manpowers and allocating work, getting productivity from those manpower was becoming kind of tough. So we were realizing the role of technology, and we were trying to implement those things. When I came here, and the challenge was that point of time with the kind of warehouse infrastructure. So because when you look at any kind of robotic automation or automation on the ground, your warehouse should be equally good. The height of the warehouse, floor strength, and other compliant warehouses were not there. So we realized that gap, and basis some kind of survey or analysis, we realized what is the gap in the demand versus supply. So considering those scenarios, especially in the grade A warehouses, we are not coming into grade B and grade C, because that is not the demand from these companies. And primarily this demand in the warehousing sector is driven by e-commerce and 3PL players. E-commerce and 3PL players are contributing somewhere 60% requirement for warehousing. So all those warehouses require grade A warehouses. When I'll talk about grade A, so that means modern warehouse which would be suitable for these kind of automations. So that's how this demand is coming in the market. And we are coming up in this area. We already started a few park across India, and it will be kind of 60 million square feet we are targeting in coming 5 years on the ground.
Uh, and this is very interesting point when we started talking about the demand and e-commerce and you know and also talking about the grade A warehouses, talking about 3PL. What we are seeing in North America is this surge of warehouse automation requirement, especially with e-commerce and e-grocery in particular. uh,
Okay.
the automation, typically what we are seeing, not only the automation but the efficiency increase, especially in the e-grocery sector, is because of the perishability of the items. So
Yeah.
for that they want to do a 2 hours delivery or the same day delivery or the next day delivery. The e-grocery works in a very different way, as you know, as compared to maybe modern retail for that matter.
Yes.
What we are seeing is that this warehouse automation, or even the warehouse locations and then the subsequent automations, will not only suffice if you have these warehouses and large warehouses in particular area outside the city, because same day delivery becomes very kind of tricky for the small players. And that's when Attabotics started working on the concept called network supply chain. So we partnered with Microsoft and Accenture, and we came out with this. As I said, that our technology in the box automation space is very scalable, but very important is it can be vertically aligned. It saves 85% of the warehouse. So when you mentioned about 100,000 square feet of a warehouse, think about it. If we are able to restrict it to your 15,000 square feet of space, so rest everything you can utilize for some sortation, pick and pack, and whatever you want to do, essentially. And that 15%, 85% reduction in within 15% capacity gave us the idea that we literally can fit our solution in backside of the gas stations, or 7-Eleven or cafe coffee days, kind of a place, the small places. Otherwise, traditionally, if you are renting a space in the heart of Mumbai, it's
Yeah.
very costly. There's always the space constraint. So we came out with this network supply chain, wherein there will be nodes of small network of these centers using our technology. Though traditionally our model was capex model, we'll set it up at your place and then you will operate. But in the network supply chain arena, we act like a mall. So what you're renting is a bin,
Okay.
and we will take care of all the delivery and everything else, and have a percentage of that as well. And what that does is that traditionally small e-com players which are looking for same day delivery or next day delivery, they need to have a micro nodes and micro fulfillment centers across, let's say, in Bangalore. I've lived in Bangalore, that's why I'm again coming back to Bangalore comparison, because Bangalore, even from HSR layout to Sajapur Road, which is just 5 kilometers, probably takes like 2 hours at times at
Yes.
the peak. Network of micro fulfillment centers, where what you are doing is essentially, as e-commerce business, are renting the bins, and we have all the SKUs inside those bins. And the moment any order comes, based on our load balancing algorithm and predictive algorithm, we try and figure out which are the optimal micro fulfillment center from where this entire delivery could happen. And we also integrate with a lot of last mile delivery partners. This entire network and of nodes and everything has become pretty big. At least in North America, suddenly micro fulfillment center is the buzzword. um,
Yes.
and that's becoming more and more evident. However, the bigger problem, which I think if you can throw some light on, is when we start talking about these technologies which are robotics, not the software is still, you can it's not that costly, but the moment you start talking about automation from robotic standpoint, the bigger challenges is the cost. And a
Yes.
lot of European and North American companies like us, when we start looking at Asia, our challenges is looking at how do you maintain this cost factor. So if you can throw some light on, are you looking into these ASRS systems and all? And if you're looking at that, how do you manage the cost? What's your suggestion to companies which are trying to automate their warehouses?
Yeah, Neeraj. It's a very good question. In fact, when we talk about automation and these kind of technology-driven operations, always first question which comes in mind in India, especially, I'm talking about where manpower cost is, comparable with the global standard is cheaper. So how you can get the ROI from those kind of automations? So return on investment is play a very key factor. So that is why what I am realizing, or what we have seen in the industry, in India, companies are not automating the processes end to end. It's not complete automation, complete value chain automation. It's kind of a piecemeal automation. Wherever we think the possibility of automation, we are doing that. I'll give you one example. In when I was in e-commerce, I was heading that kind of e-commerce supply chain. That point of time, we were working on. I'll give you one example. Post packing. I mean, we receive orders on the website. Post website, orders are extracted in the warehouse system, and we process those orders. Picking up individual packets, individual orders will not give that kind of productivity. So what we were doing, we were picking the items in batches, like let's say we are keeping 1 hour batch, in 1 hour batch, maybe 3000 items are there, and we will pick those items from the warehouse, which will give consolidation in terms of, let's say, one item is required in 10 odd orders. So that the person can pick, I mean, in one time that particular item, and can distribute to the orders post that. So there was a requirement for sorting out all these, consolidating these orders after picking, how we can segregate these orders, because we have picked in batch. So that point of time, we realized pick and put to light system were playing a very good role. One of the company came to us and they suggested, and that was very good implementation in terms of whenever this packet is coming from the storage area through conveyor belts, and at the end we have, one person is placing all these items after scanning. System was showing like where we have to place this particular item, using those pick and put to light system. So that kind of segregation is happening that point of time. That was kind of a very low cost solution for us, which replaced considerable manpower from the floor. Post that, if your order has been packed, now you need to dispatch all these orders to the different cities, and in those cities on different routes to deliver to the particular customer's address. So that point of time, we were struggling again with the manpower in a small area, where we need to sort out all these packets as per the city and route plan. So that point of time, we replace that process with the sortation system. In e-commerce scenario, now it's common, but that point of time, I remember only Flipkart and Jabong.com, if you heard. That point of time, we started in. There was a system in Flipkart that was kind of a very basics application, just the segregation of the packets till the city wise. But in Jabong, after 1 year down the line, we implemented the combination of pick and put to light system plus sortation system. So once this item sorted out as per sorted out as per city, and from that bunch of packets, now further we can segregate that those packets as per route of the particular city through pick and put to light system. So we devised that point of time low cost solutions, and that were working that point of time. So I would say semi automation will work for us because that can give ROI in less period, like 3 to 5 years. There were companies who were approaching us that point of time, who were having very good track record in outside country, outside India, but their cost was very high because they were not having their manufacturing plant, or kind of parts in India. They have to import. So the cost, the cost of automation was very high that point of time. So considering ROI more than 5 years, we were not considering. Also, there was a challenge from multiple points, like you can say resistance from the manpower also was one of the key issue. Post implementation, maintenance and support was the key factor. 15% of the capex cost was kind of maintenance cost for that particular automation. Apart from this, you can say like dependability on the particular OEM who's providing that machine. We have to depend that, because that's not the common automation. So that those kind of challenges which we realized, now it has become post pandemic. What I have seen, many companies are coming in this area, and we are getting low cost solution from them. So for an example, I'll give you which are common as of now, what kind of automations we have seen as of now. That is automated storage and retrieval systems, which these kind of system are giving better utilization of storage space, plus you can say the faster pick and put kind of activities we can do. As I said, pick and put to light system integrated with the WMS systems is again very common as of now. Sortation system in e-commerce warehouses are being used very much. Packing systems, the commodity, the items like footwear, books, the wherever we can see, we can do the automated packing. So packing kind of automations are happening. And conveyor belts, rather than person is manually bringing material from storage area till the handling area. As of now, every e-commerce company, especially e-commerce company I'm talking about, because there is huge manpower. So in those areas, we are using conveyor belts. So these are kind of things I would say are much utilized as of now, and we are seeing traction in this area. And post pandemic, it is being accelerated as of now.
Yeah, it's a very important point. So we drink our own Kool-Aid, and one of the very important and the first steps we did was setting up a very strong manufacturing facility in Calgary. So we have a very strong manufacturing facility. We of course make use of a lot of vendors for certain things, materials and everything else. I'm sorry. So, but if you look at the overall quality control, that becomes very important. That's why the cost becomes important. But we were able to automate our own manufacturing, because of which our dependability on the certain people or number of people in that manufacturing facility has reduced significantly. A lot of times we are asked that if we would consider China, because a lot of companies do, and the point is, we won't see the significant difference in the cost because we have already optimized the cost. And since our solution is very scalable and it can be scaled, so you don't need to look at right from the day one that high kind of a cost investment. You can start with a smaller kind of infrastructure, and we are so scalable that in matter of weeks we can just multiply your capacity. So I think a very important aspect of any business which is looking at the fair warehouse and automation, there are few things which I feel one should definitely look into when they start, just like what you mentioned about semi automation, pick to light, put to light, conveyor belts. These all are very important kind of steps towards making your warehouse automated in a way that could become state of the art facility, even for that e-com business or retail businesses or whatever the case may be. And I feel that starts from WMS, because when you start looking at the WMS and you start looking at the warehouse automation systems, what we have seen is since maybe conveyor belt operator may be a different company, some other solution may be different companies, you are almost managing, and they come up with their own softwares. If we do
Yes.
not have a coherent policy or strategy around how do you stitch all these solutions, it becomes difficult. And then
Yes.
the biggest problem is the data. You will be able to achieve certain things, but you will not have a seamless data. Then second thing is scalability. A lot of times we try to automate or semi automate the solution at the warehouse in such a way that, okay, this is my requirement, let's do it, without thinking that whether that requirement may scale up, because the default mode of the business is a growth. So if you are growing, then you may have to have a scalable solution, otherwise rigid solutions won't work. And the third part is the data collection. One has to understand the entire warehouse automation. One of the biggest takeaways from the warehouse automation is that entire seamless data, which becomes cold, which becomes very important for you to be very effective. And that data realization and collection has to understand, because there can be several things like continuous cycle counts. It is very important for the inventory discrepancies. But if you
Yes.
need to do that, how do you operate on it? How do you optimizing the receiving part of it, and then evaluating all these parameters, build a team, think about what could be done, and then evaluate the ASRS systems or good to person systems, whatever works for you, or even AGVs and sortation systems, if you're looking at. And then it's not just a 5 years horizon. Some of the solutions, when you will implement, probably within 2 years you will start looking at the kind of returns. And especially when you are looking at big cities where the cost of the real estate is higher, like even one of the best pitches for us is this 85% reduction in the footprint. That
That's
itself
very,
becomes such a huge cost, right?
that's very good number. I mean, I'm surprised to see, I mean, this kind of system, if you are reducing 85% of the storage space, that's a very a good sign for this kind of industry.
Yeah,
Uh, I'll just add in this topic,
sure.
which I'm, thinking from that back of the mind. Like as you said, I mean, you can see this. The future would be towards like, fulfillment centers or these kind of warehouses should be closer to the customer, and that's how this decentralized warehousing, or you can say hub and spoke model, will work. Uh, I would see, I can foresee, I mean, when you'll talk about grocery supply chain, grocery warehousing logistics, this would be, much required, because you have to deliver the item as fast as possible, but because nobody wants to wait for a week time for a grocery. But in case of fashion lifestyle, household items, these warehouses would become like a mother warehouse or regional distribution center, because I can say, in one side we are targeting, we should take the benefit from I mean, benefit of economy of scale. We should have a, mother or regional distribution center where we can, set up technology, we can use technology and can automate the processes and control the supply chain. Government is also, having giving these kind of options for us, because when you see the GST implementation, that was kind of a good sign, because before GST implementation in India, we were having decentralized warehousing. Basis the tax structure, we have to create a warehouse in every state. Now GST came, it is going towards, centralization of the warehouses. And other way around, like in grocery category, we are seeing the decentralized demand, because I mean, as far as you will be, closer to the market, closer to the customers, that will be good for you. So automation would be very, kind of selective for the grocery segment. We would be requiring those kind of automations, in a, metro cities, since real estate cost is very high. So we, how we can reduce that kind of space, and can better utilize. In case of big distribution centers, big warehouses, big FCs, we would look, I mean, how we can, automate the processes, because this warehouse is 1 million square feet or 1.5 million square feet. those automation would be bit different from those kind of smaller warehouses, and both models will remain same, because for these small warehouses you would require a big distribution center to feed in. So that was my point. If you can give some light on both side, I mean, if there is any solution around that.
So e-grocery, and this is very important point what you have made. E-grocery, it's not just the automation. It's freezer bots and different kind of a temperature control scenarios with which you
Yes.
have to maintain. You take the example of typical ice cream. Ice cream storage is not that simple. So when somebody starts looking at the e-grocery warehouse management, automation has to come into the picture, because it's not feasible just to even look at something which is a traditional warehouse. And that's
Right.
where initiatives such as yours will become very important, because maintaining those kind of standards without automation, even that is costly. And then when you start looking at the automation, so you will start looking at a platform of sorts like yours, where the e-grocery players could start making use of your facility along with the automation solutions like ours, and start making use of it. Because it's not about in e-grocery, it's not about can we think about 5-day delivery. It's practically not possible. You cannot think
Yes.
about the milk after 5 days getting delivered.
Yes.
And that's why you need to automate that entire system. You need to integrate with 3PLs and last mile service providers so that it is optimal, and otherwise it won't be sustainable. And that's
Yes.
where the point of the micro nodes, the micro fulfillment centers, into come into picture. Because if you have a micro fulfillment centers, then it is practically possible to deliver all these orders in the area within the stipulated time, whatever you are talking about. Traditional warehouses and traditional e-com, which you start talking about, and when they're moving towards the modern e-commerce, what we have seen is the expensive, like reverse logistics. It's so
Right.
expensive. So
Challenging.
every efficient way of doing things will save money for the company, and that's why automation helps you. Other problem and the challenge in the ecosystem like such as India is we still have the issue with the literacy. And when I say literacy means, let's assume English speaking pickers.
Yeah, it's the
You know
problem with the laborers. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
So if somebody is doing a conveyor belt, and a guy is literally picking the stuff using the mobile app, it becomes very difficult to manage it. Using our solution, like, so we are 95% accurate, and some in cases 99% accurate. What we are talking about when we talk about accuracy, is not just the accuracy of picking the item, but a lot of other things which come into the picture. And that saves a lot of time and effort for, and reduces this entire complexity around the reverse logistics. So all these things have to take into consideration, and that's why from Attabotics standpoint, we started looking at European and Asian countries. And Asian countries specifically, we started talking about Asia, Singapore, and Thailand and Japan. Korea, we are seeing a lot of automation happening, and India. So we have started looking at it. We have started thinking about what should be the strategy. And reason why I'm saying so is because a part of strategy is go directly to the e-commerce players and try and educate. And I see that there are only one or two players, Amazon and Flipkarts of the world, who are able to control. But if you want to democratize, and if you want to have other businesses be successful, then platform like yours, and automation like us together can create this network supply chain micronote. And we should talk about
Yes.
that at the later stage. But for the audience, start putting your questions, because we'll start taking up a couple of questions now. While we are waiting for the questions to pop in, Satendra, I think it is important for us to also cover two important aspects. One is the talent, the career in automation or warehousing. And second
Yes.
is entrepreneurs who are looking at this space, probably the suggestion. So I'll start with you. If in these two areas, in terms of entrepreneurs, what do you see in terms of the blue space or blue ocean, where entrepreneurs should start doing something which could be a feasible business moving down the line? And how do you see the entire career and people who probably want to make their career in warehouse space? What do you think about that?
Yeah, Neeraj. I mean, from that perspective, I mean the entrepreneurs who wants to come in this area. And I mean the real, as we discussed in the discussion, the real problem, if you are solving a any problem of the I mean these kind of logistics, warehouse or last mile or first mile, so that is, that is required. That is the time. As of now, I'll give you one example. As of now, companies like Grofers and other companies also, they are considering 30 minutes delivery today in India. I mean, not talking about outside India. And they are considering these dark store concepts and all. So again, as of now, this field is again manual. It's not, there is no such a technology. They are just, putting the warehouse or smaller FC near to the market, and they are just, planning in batches or in slots, and they are delivering. But again, I mean, what's the problem? I'll tell you. I mean, uh, in a scenario where you're keeping a warehouse outside city, the cost of warehouse in Indian terms, I'll tell you, would be somewhere 20-25 rupees per square feet. That is the real estate cost. And in city, when you will set up this dark store, the cost would be somewhere 100 rupees per square feet. So that is, real estate cost is very high. And secondly, if you can accommodate more inventory, you can optimize this storage space. That will be a great win for industry. So the companies, the entrepreneurs who are coming in this area need to understand in deep, like this processes and the requirement. And I'm sure this will picking, I mean, in near future, this will go in a very good way. That's a requirement. And as far as this the career in this automation field, I can foresee, if sorry, if the demand is growing in this area from these e-commerce as well as. And also one more point I want to highlight: the automation and this kind of technology driven operation is not only in e-commerce. Now all 3PL companies, because these both sectors contribute a lot. So 3PL companies, because they have volume, very good volume, they want to automate. Post this pandemic, they are considering where we can you automate the processes, the process where there is less customization required or less subjectivity in the process. They are considering to automate all those processes. If this automation requirement is coming, demand is coming in the market, obviously entrepreneurs or these kind of companies would solve this problem. This will go up. And secondly, like, we can foresee the career in this area also for the people or the persons who are coming in this area. You are on mute, Neeraj, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. So,
Yeah.
I see a lot of questions on the comment section we should start catering to, but very quickly, there are opportunities like in e-grocery management, because still people are thinking about e-grocery and how to manage it, and a lot of other connectors, which you can, like Indian company called Far Eye, which is the last mile delivery connector, has become, I think, a unicorn now. Like there are opportunities in, if you're looking at the warehouse and automation and these kind of space, and of course talent, very much like we have all sort of people, right, from mechatronics to AI, machine learning, data, mechanical engineers, manufacturing engineers. So it's a huge opportunity if you're looking at this space. There are questions which are coming. For example, somebody has said, what are the some of the biggest risk factors associated with RPA in the Indian context? um, uh, uh, so if you look at the Indian context, uh, we one is the price sensitivity. That's very important. And you start looking at even manufacturing everything in India and doing a lot of stuff, it's always comparison to the existing labor cost, because labor cost is relatively low in India. So when you start looking at any kind of a automation, a robotic process automation, the biggest challenge for you is to understand what is your takeaway, because efficiency also is, a customer and consumer is becoming very demanding. So it's not only about the cost. Even consumer is ready to spend more money, 15 to 20% more money, to receive the right package at the right time,
Yeah.
or faster time. That is the requirement. And in order to do that, I feel that companies have started looking into investing in automation. And if you look at automation, what Satendra mentioned was very true. Automation is 3 to 5 years plan. You will amortize your cost over the period of 3 to 5 years. you need to start investing in automation. But before investing in automation, you start thinking about automation, start interacting with these companies. It's not costly. If you start doing the price comparison, and if you are especially in the metro cities, you'll start looking at that 3 to 5 years of amortization within 1 to 2 years, in fact. But yes, the cost is the biggest factor. And then second thing is you start looking at your warehouse automation. You have to start thinking about how we will stitch all these. There's no one solution. So you have to start looking at system integrators, start talking to them, start finding out what and all will work. And you may have to have the matchmaking of different service providers and solution providers who will work together. So that's the biggest, kind of a thing which we see in a price sensitive country like India. And investment has to happen. I don't think there's any uh, you know uh, any ways we can. I mean, there will be cost reduction once you start employing Indian people. We don't have Indian employees for that matter. But when we start looking at opening our office in India, then we will hire Indian employees, and all those kind of a thing for companies like us also will start making sense. you know Satyendra, I think there was a question about with Priyanka had asked. In e-commerce, we see a lot of transit damaged loading to loss to organization and customer dissatisfaction. However, a lot of training are being done for handling of load, how to reduce this problem. Automation cost is high, like impact label and shock watch. Is there any other way to control this loss?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll give you a kind of example how I've seen this. This is a big problem in this industry. I mean, a lot of damages happens, especially kind of items where kind of you can fragile items are considered in this area. I mean, what gap I have seen, that is the packaging challenge. If you'll have good packaging while so there is a gap in the Indian market. What I have seen, we consider low cost packaging, how we can save the cost in packaging. Manual, the educational gap with the manpower also, they don't package those kind of items as per the process. In those areas we have seen these kind of damages. If you'll see, the automation can help us in this area also. If the packets, as I said earlier, if the items are like footwear, like books, or the items which can be packaging can be automated, we should consider that. Because in today's scenarios, automation, as Neeraj said, is not that much of high. We can see good ROI in that. Considering manual operation versus automation, we should consider that. So that's one of the challenges. Secondly, in transit, since our logistic infrastructure is not so good, so we should think for that kind of cushioning also in the vehicle if required, which we have reduced. Because that's a practical example I'm telling you. We have used for some of the items cushioning in the vehicle as well, and that impacted a lot. I mean, the reduction in the damages were considerably high. So that's how we can manage these kind of damages during transit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So Gaurav had put in one note saying Groffer is offering 10 minutes delivery. What kind of warehouse automation is required to meet such crazy deliveries? So when we talk about automation, one thing we need to understand, it's not always robotics automation. It's also the software automation. It's also the business automation. So companies like Grofers, I think I'm not very much involved right now in Indian ecosystem that much. I am involved there, but not that much. But my hunch is that there are three level of automation you have to think about. One is business partnerships. 10-minute deliveries is crazy. And if you have to do it, then you're talking about network of these retailers and e-grocery shops whom literally kirana stores and e-grocery shops whom you will become partner to. Because 10 minutes delivery, robotics automation is not going to help you that ways. What it's going to help you is if you have these 10,000 kirana stores and grocery shops who are part of you, that is one part, because you literally have to deliver in 10 minutes, which you're talking about within 1 or 2 kilometers of radius. You have that shop which is gonna deliver it. That's number one. Number two is predictive algorithms and the data. If somehow you can also maintain some sort of an understanding of what customer and consumer is gonna ask for, and if you could use AI, machine learning algorithm, analytics and all, and past data to figure out what exactly could be done. Because most of these mom and pop stores or kirana shops and all these stores, they don't have that kind of a data or resources to understand that data. But if you as a company can invest on that and tell kirana store that, you know what, I think in your area there's going to be demand for these three things, and our main warehouse is going to send this thing for tomorrow. So that's the second level of automation or AI, machine learning, deep technology, which you will have to start looking at. And the third and most other important aspect is connection with the last mile delivery partners, because if you do not invest on your last mile delivery and 3PLs, that becomes difficult. That is the reason why we started coming out with Satyan mentioned about dark stores, and we started coming out with fulfillment as a service or network supply chain, wherein apart from in Canada or US, probably the retail scene is not as robust as in India. Every 300 meters, you can find a retail shop and all this sort of stuff. It's very structured. So that's why we came out with this network supply chain, wherein you can rent a bin and literally put all your stuff rather than opening a shop. And it's almost like a dark store where we can. So either you create this kind of a network or use this network supply chain, so to say. So somebody and but it's a very real estate capital intensive and asset heavy. So somebody like Adani Group, what they're trying to do in creating a platform, and somebody like us collaborate and have, let's assume, 100 stores, 100 micro fulfillment centers across Mumbai, for example. I'm just giving, probably it will require 500. And then all we do the predictive algorithm so that all those retailers and brands and everybody can put their items in our micro fulfillment, and when the order comes, our mechanism and our interaction with the last mile delivery partner could facilitate that. So that's the comment I have. I think this is the last question, Satendra. If you have any comment after that, we can.
Yeah, Neeraj, I want to add in this. You are absolutely right. I mean, 10 minutes delivery and 15 minutes delivery is possible with these kirana stores only. We are working with grocers. We know this chain. Here, these dark stores are also, feeding these kind of retailers. Plus, the orders is going to the nearest retailer who can deliver these items within 10 minutes delivery. So, in terms of automation, we should consider that dark store part from where these retailers are, fed it. So that's the main thing which I was talking about. Since real estate cost is very high, and if we can, optimize that space using these kind of automations, that will be a great win for us.
Absolutely. With
Yes.
that, I think we will hand it over to Kavi. But it was definitely very good interaction, and I hope that the audience was able to make use of our discussion.
Uh, so before I give my concluding remark, I think I'll take one more question which was missed out, and I think it's important to address because there's this question from Tapas Sharma, and he asked that automation is definitely starting in India, but it is largely towards the metro cities, and the rest of the nation is still, far flung from adoption of automation and robotics. So how can we change their view? Because he's I think he means that they're still afraid or still hesitant to adopt it. So
Yeah.
if you could
I
just
think this is a very good question actually, and I missed it somehow, Tapas, but I think automation in tier two and tier three cities is equally important, because as I said, that automation is not only about same day delivery or next day delivery. It is about efficiency. It is about accuracy. It is about a lot of other factors which a consumer nowadays is demanding. Consumer is nowadays is not just saying कि मुझको ये चीज चाहिए, आप इसको मुझे 2 घंटे में भेज दीजिए. They're also looking at how quickly you can send, how accurately you are sending. If I'm
Yes.
sending you asking for demanding for 8 orders, even for the company, it's costly if there are 8 orders out of which 7 are accurate and one is wrong, because you have to take one back and send one more, and it's costly. Amazon's spend on the last one delivery is anywhere between $8 to $15. Sometimes it goes up to $20. So I think even tier two in three cities, and you see the entire success story of Flipkart is because of, I always say that they created the best business innovation on cash on delivery, and they tapped tier two and tier three market. Now all of a sudden, tier two, tier three market is not new to e-com. Probably they do more e-commerce than tier one city people. So I think automation in tier 2, tier 3 city is inevitable. It has to come and it will come.
Mr. Satendra, any take from your side? I'm sure Adani has warehouses in tier two and three cities. So, what is the condition of automation at your
Yeah,
warehouses?
we discussed this topic earlier as well. As
Yes.
I said, it depend on type of requirement. When we talk about grocery and these kind of related categories, where we need faster delivery, I mean accuracy. We can use those kind of automations in that area. Also, I mean when you look at earlier stage, yes, this is right. Like we were considering automation in metro cities only because we were getting economy of scale. I mean, these are big warehouses. Infrastructure was good that point of time. Also, so that we can semi-automate the processes. That was the real problem in tier two and tier three cities. You can see, as of now, also we are having only grade B or C kind of warehouses, go downs. How you can automate? I mean, you require some kind of standard infrastructure for that, which we are considering tier 2 tier 3 cities, and we are developing. And I think there is confusion. It's not only it's not the platform. We are investing in this area. We are buying land. We are creating buildings across cities, and that is 60 million target. So you can see you will see the grade A modern facilities in tier 2 and tier 3 cities as well. We are tying up with big companies who are having demand in these areas, and also tying up with companies who can automate and can give us these kind of capex as well. This is kind of a capex infrastructure. Automation also, I mean, because when you go in the automation, you need some kind of capex, and we are capex heavy company. We invest in capex. So that's how we are thinking, like if there is any possibility to bring automation with the real estate also, we'll see that possibility as well. And you will see in future, like other companies would also do this kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure, sir. We hope that other companies also move towards automation in tier two and three cities. So I have one more question. It's from Miss Rupa. It is unable to. It is while the domestic supply chains have been witnessing automation over the last few years, international borders are yet to see automation in the supply chain ecosystem. So how can global value chains benefit? I think Mr. Neeraj, you can take this as it is, more inclined towards automation, and you'll be the right person to answer.
Yeah, I think as I said earlier, it's a good question, and I said, you know, India is continuously see there is in India. If you are talking of the large scale, the only way you can solve large scale solution are automation, digitization. You need to have a digital way of solving problems. Look at Aadhaar and what it has done to India. So the traditional supply chains now, thanks to Flipkarts of the world, suddenly in India, people have started looking at digitization, looking at digital solution, looking at semi-automation, as Satendra rightly mentioned, and they have started looking into a lot of traditional, approaches which could be uh, transformed from the North American and European standpoint in terms of the processes. So our international connect was always very strong, and it kept happening within India. The kind of automation which was required, I am seeing a huge demand, and the change of the mindset in terms of investment. As Satindra mentioned, it's a capex heavy investment. It's capex. So even for a company, in order to invest in capex related thing, they have to start thinking about the long term impact. And I feel that next 3 years, just like what has happened in last 10 years in terms of e-commerce, it will not take 10 years for the automation and warehousing. It's going to just be next 3 years. You will see India as a superpower in terms of aligning the processes, and doing something which will align with the modern e-commerce needs. So I'm very optimistic about it. Companies like us have started looking into India and Asia. That shows that India has started investing in automation, investing in these kind of a modern e-commerce best practices.
True. So, Satendra, sir, would you like to add anything to that, or I could
Yeah, Neeraj rightly said. I mean, this change of mindset is being, we can see this change of mindset in Indian scenarios. Companies are considering these kind of automation, which will be benefited in future as well. And we already talked about not only in great, I mean, tier one cities, tier two, three cities will also be, see this automation.
True, sir. Just to give a quick wrap up of today's session, it is, very clear. It is no secret that India is big on manpower, and it has been that way for a very long time. But the pandemic and, of course, the e-commerce sector has definitely pushed India towards robotics and automation. And like we just discussed, not only the tier one cities or the metropolitan cities, but also in tier two and three cities, especially now that people are more, relying on e-commerce. I think the trust has grown over the years, and we have seen it because earlier people were hesitant of ordering, stuff from e-commerce, and post-pandemic, it has changed. And like Mr. Neeraj mentioned in the beginning, India does take the leap route in each and every change or adaptation that it has. And we are sure that with collaborations, Indian users collaborating with companies like Attabotics, it can definitely help us evolve and change the entire dynamics of the company, and meet the consumer demand, which is constantly changing. They're asking for faster deliveries, reliable deliveries. They want to track their orders, and that will be achieved with collaboration with technology companies, and by inculcating technology in our warehouses. So on this very note, I think I hope that our audiences really enjoyed this very insightful session, where we didn't only talk about the cost of automation, but also, dove deep into how go down the warehouses were in the beginning and how they're evolving right now, which was very much clearly described by Mr. Satendra Pathak and his experience of, being in the warehousing industry for so long and operating in India. Thank you to both our speakers, Mr. Neeraj Gupta and Satendra Pathak. It was very insightful for me, who has been in the industry for so long, and I'm sure the new entrants also were viewing. It would be very helpful for them also. And thank your audiences for joining in. It was great having you guys here. If you enjoyed this session, informing you that it is just a trailer of the actual event, which is the Indo-Canadian Digital Supply Chain Tech Conclave, and you're going to see a lot of Canadian technology companies coming and discussing, with Indian users on supply chain and logistics industry. So please stay tuned for that. It is on the 17th of November, and the registrations are going to open very soon. So please stay tuned, and thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Neeraj.
Thanks
Thanks,
a lot.
Carl.
Thanks, Kavi Sachin.